Hi, this is Glenn, and today I'd like to talk to you about recovering from bullying. When I was young, was bullied from primary to university. The worst of it was probably in middle school, and as I understand it, that is the same experience that many kids have, that they are bullied the most in middle school, and a lot of that has to do with puberty, which is one of the things I'll be talking about. So, at 51 years of age, I have learned some things about coping with bullying and overcoming bullying as a victim of bullying. And I understand about the consequences of being bullied. I also understand that bullies themselves are victims. They were bullied or abused by somebody, probably a family member, and the traits that were being taught were wrong by that person or people that were bullying or abusing them. They would, if they saw that in somebody else, would choose that person to treat that way because of the abuse that they endured. So we have to understand that bullies themselves are victims. Unfortunately, bullies and their victims have a very high rate of suicide compared to the rest of the population. And even worse, bullying is very widespread, and unfortunately, in the field of education, there are those who either don't want to face it and deal with it. There are those who don't know how to. There are those who think it's a good thing. There are those who try to cover it up out of embarrassment or pride or whatever it happens to be. There are even teachers who will engage in bullying, which is the worst thing, obviously. I had thought when I was coming back to America that the bullying problem would be better, but much to my chagrin, not only did I realize that it had gotten worse and that probably there's a very strong causation, not just correlation, between bullying and school shootings. Yeah, so it's a big problem, and Wisconsin ranks number 7 in terms of bullying, which is pretty sad that, after all these decades since I was bullied, legislators, administrators, and teachers have not done enough. Some of them haven't done anything, and some of them are part of the problem. I'm speaking on a personal level here, so I just want to share with you some things I've learned to help me deal with bullying. I am somebody who believes in self-help. I believe in improving oneself and learning new things. Not everybody is like that, but I hope that what I share with you will benefit you and help you to deal with bullying after the fact, to help you to heal yourself. And this may also, what I share, that is, may also apply to other people. So I hope you'll stay tuned as I discuss with you some things that you can do to help. The first thing I'd like to talk to you about is one thing I realized probably 5, maybe 10 years ago. Keeping in mind I'm 51 now. I mean, you can see a little bit of gray here, right? I'm not as young as I may appear to some people. I realized that when I was a victim of bullying, that part of the problem was that I was focusing on the bullying. I was focusing on the minority of students who were treating me badly. I wasn't looking at the number of students who were my friends. I wasn't even looking at the students who were the silent majority. They didn't, cause problems for me, and yet they didn't help me either. And to be fair, sometimes the bullying occurred when there were no witnesses. Still, I focused on this, maybe a handful of boys, primarily of the same race as I am, if you want to use the word race, which I think is kind of a stupid word, but the small number of boys throughout my life, they would periodically pick on me. It wasn't often physical, but sometimes it did. One time we were working with plexiglass in the art class, and a bully in my class took a piece of heated up plexiglass and held it against my arm, and he thought that was great. I didn't think it was great. Another time, a different bully, he sucker punched me right in the solar plexus, and when he saw that I was getting angry, he just got angrier, and after he'd apologized, but then he saw that I was pissed off, and so he asserted himself to make sure I didn't lash back at him. But a lot of the time it was more of the non-physical bullying that was occurring. They might take my bag and throw it into the bathroom of the girls' bathroom, obviously not the guys' bathroom. They would say things about me, and I know that this doesn't sound as bad as what some of you have been through. I was just today talking to the mother of a child who was cyberbullied and bullied in person by popular people who spread rumors, and one by one all of her friends that she'd had since she was little turned against her, and yeah, it was just a very sad story. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to look at the proportion of bullies versus the number who are not bullies. Now, I don't mean those who support the bullies. I simply mean those who are either bystanders or your friends and they have no active role in the bullying, okay? Look at that proportion, and for the vast majority of you, I think what you're going to find is that it's a small minority of people that's bullying you. Now, not necessarily. It could be that it's a large number of students that's doing that. And I've heard of stories where there are kids, especially kids coming from specific backgrounds, like lesbian, gay, that kind of thing, where entire communities turned against them, and teachers and parents and students persecuted them, even law enforcement, and that is just way out of line and completely unacceptable. I don't care what your holy book says, you're wrong, okay? But sorry, I'm getting off track here. So I want you to look at the proportion, and if you're like me, you're going to realize it's a small number of students who are trying to make you miserable, and they're doing that to you because they are miserable. Keep that in mind. They're victims. They're making you miserable because they are miserable. Okay? Now, maybe that's just the first thing that you can look at to try and get a little bit of perspective. Also look at how often it really happens to you. Is it a constant thing? Is it an occasional thing? Get some perspective by looking at the frequency. Try to focus not on how often it does happen, but how often it doesn't happen. It's amazing what a change of attitude can do to help you to cope with challenges and negativity. Another thing to keep in mind, especially if you're going through bullying during middle school, is that puberty is it's an amazing thing that causes your body to do all kinds of weird things. There are hormones flowing through your body that cause you to misbehave, that cause you to just become a different person sometimes. And you need to understand that this is a biological imperative that a lot of people haven't really got control of. They don't even understand what's going on. They're having feelings they don't understand. They're having thoughts that they don't understand, that they never had before. Like before, maybe they had no interest in somebody, and now suddenly they're having interest in people that they wouldn't have before. So you got to keep in mind that it's biological, and not that I'm in any way trying to justify or say it's okay. There are ways to help children work through the puberty, such as through abdominal breathing. But this is a fact that part of the problem is kids are being driven crazy by puberty. So keep that in mind. It's biology. Another thing that you can actually do is be grateful for what's good in your life. Be grateful for the people who love you, the people who support you. Be grateful for the good things that you have. Like, do you have a home to live in? There are kids who don't have a home. Do you have toys? Do you have things that, like clothes and food and stuff? There are kids who don't get that, and they get bullied because they're poor. And it's not even their fault that they're poor. They just are, and yet they are persecuted by other richer children for being poor or different or whatever it is. But every morning when you get up, verbally express the things that you are grateful for. And when you are in the middle of the day, perhaps, take a break and remind yourself what you're grateful for. And at the end of the day, again, tell yourself what you're grateful for. You could even do this as a family. I used to do this with my children as a kind of a game while we waited for the bus. But it's important to do this on a regular basis so you can develop a healthier, more positive attitude about life. Not everything is bad, okay? And finally, the suggestion I have for today is to learn to use abdominal breathing. And what I mean by abdominal breathing is when you breathe, you tend to breathe to your chest. And you can kind of see my chest moving, and you can see my shoulders moving. When you do abdominal breathing, you're breathing down to your stomach. Now, if you pay attention, you won't see my shoulders and chest moving. You'll see my stomach moving. And what I want you to learn to do is to do this abdominal breathing several times a day. You don't have to do it for a long time every day. If you want to, you can, but a couple minutes every day, a few times a day will help you to develop a habit. And here's how I want you to do it. When you're breathing, I want you to be very, very conscious about it and conscious of it. So I want you to breathe in through the mouth and kind of try to fill up your stomach like a big balloon, but do it slowly. You don't want to breathe quickly. You want to breathe slowly. So you breathe out through your nose. Now, if you got a stuffy nose or something, that's okay. You don't have to actually breathe out through your nose, but it may be helpful because it makes a different noise than when it goes in. It has a different feeling than when it goes in or out. You can even breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Whatever you want to do. When you're doing this, I want you to notice how your body is moving. Which muscles are moving. What areas of your body are moving. I want you to notice the feeling of the air going past your lips, past your tongue, down your throat, and coming back out again. I want you to notice the temperature of it. I want you to notice the humidity of it. And I want you to listen for the sound. So what you're trying to do here is you're trying to involve as much of your senses as possible. And you could even possibly use your sense of smell if there's an aroma in the air. Eventually your brain will block it. But you want to focus your senses as much as possible on the breathing, because when you do that, it causes all these emotions and thoughts in your head to dissipate, to disappear. Why? Because you can't focus on all these things happening with your breathing and have that tornado in your head. And when you stop thinking about what's upsetting you, you stop upsetting yourself. Now, that's an important point. You are thinking about it and you're making yourself upset about it. Okay? So you do this breathing to take your mind off of this problem you're having. You do this to relax yourself so that you can feel better. And if you do this regularly, every single day, multiple times a day, you will get into the habit of it. And then, if you've been doing it long enough, that has become a true habit, because that takes the development of neurological connections in your brain. But once you've got those connections in your brain established through doing it every day, multiple times a day, when you are stressed and you need to calm down, even potentially in an emergency situation or during a test, during an interview, whatever situation triggers you, you'll be able to relax. You'll be able to calm down. I don't know how many breaths it'll take you. Sometimes as little as 3 breaths are enough for me to calm down. So it should be able to help you too. So try to keep in mind these things that I've talked about and use gratefulness and abdominal breathing to help you to recover, to help you to heal. And remember, you're a victim of bullying, but your bully is also a victim. Don't hold in your heart what they have done, because somebody hurt them. And they're just doing what they were taught. Okay? All right. Thank you very much for listening. I hope this has helped.